Who in here has ever been diagnosed with ADHD or thinks they have it? Raise your hand. Okay. Out of all of you, if you've ever been treating for it, did it work?
No.
Raise your hand. No? It's my contention that if it did work for you, you're wrong. I have ADHD, or so my pediatrician tells me. Not only that, but so do my family and friends, lots of family and friends, and some of which take medication. I never did. My parents never thought it necessary. I was just a hyperactive kid. If you ever knew anybody on ADHD medication and saw what it did to them, it kind of turns them off, or slows them down, puts them in slow motion. And most of you have kids. For those of you who don't, like me, I'm sure you know that when a kid is born, they can't be born broken. There's nothing that needs to be fixed about them. It's my contention that no child can be born broken. Therefore, they don't need medicine to be fixed. Attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactive disorder has become a blanket diagnosis for an increasing number of children who exhibit seemingly disruptive behavior. To some, it has been dubbed a fad diagnosis, and I will illustrate why. First, I want to talk about ADHD, what it is, how it's diagnosed, and how it's become prevalent. Then I want to talk about some treatments for it, and how it affects children in school. Before we can understand ADHD, we must, of course, define it. According to Doctors Dale and Birchwood at the North Wales Clinical Psychology Program in the United Kingdom, attention deficit hyperactive disorder is a developmental, neurobiological condition defined by the presence of severe and pervasive symptoms of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. There's a lot of controversy out right now about the criteria for a diagnosis, but as of now, the method is complicated. In order to be diagnosed, one must exhibit 6 or more symptoms from 2 subgroups, inattention and hyperactivity impulsivity. These symptoms can include things like difficulty organizing tasks, blurting out answers before questions are even given, talking a lot, fidgeting, you know, things a kid does. Doctors Dale and Birchwood also state that these symptoms persist for 6 months and are paired with a psychological evaluation detailing a significant problem with social, academic, and/or occupational functioning. This is the precise clinical way of diagnosing ADHD. With the growth of the condition, however, less clinical avenues are being taken. This is the current form of diagnosis, but over time, ADHD has been diagnosed from moral problems to minimal brain damage. This being said, attention disorders have existed since the early 1900s, but with the nomenclature of ADHD since the 80s, it's grown in popularity, or rather, the frequency of its diagnosis. One way to illustrate its growth is with the diagnosis rate along with our population. In the 70s, America's population was 207 million, with an ADHD rate of 5%. Now, with a 50% increase in population to 313 million, the rate has risen to 12%. I did the math. Just under 10 million kids in the 70s, now over 38 million. I view this as a false epidemic. This increase in diagnosis has led to the increase of available medications and, of course, side effects to these medications. There are several ways doctors have devised to treat ADHD. Since 1955, when Ritalin was invented, the condition spread, and consequently, scientists have been creating many, many, many new medicines. As listed by WebMD, there are 3 kinds of drugs used to treat ADHD. Stimulants. Actually, let's stop there. Stimulants are supposed to help the subject focus their thoughts and ignore distractions. But consider non-medical stimulants. Candy, caffeine, sugar, things that kids interact with on a daily basis. And for some reason, doctors think it's a good reason to give them more stimulants. The next category is non-stimulants. These are used to replace unwanted stimulants and improve concentration and control impulses. And when both of those don't work, there's a category called other. It's really called other. I don't understand that. But anyway. You may recognize some of these stimulants: Adderall, Foxyclin, the famous Ritalin, Vyvanse. Sidebar. Ritalin is now starting to be banned in countries outside America, Britain, Sweden, because it has been known to cause sudden death and heart disease. Some non-stimulants include Strattera, Intuitive, Capve. The category called Other includes a lot of antidepressants, like Duraclon, 10X, and Wellbutrin. Wellbutrin is insane. According to Wikipedia, Medical News Today, WebMD, and Forest General Hospital in Hattiesburg has a program for the medicine. It's used as an antidepressant, a quitting smoking aid, and an ADHD medication for children. That makes no sense. Imagine what that's doing to your kids' brains in an educational point of view. And here we enter the final phase, detailing how treatments can be detrimental to children in schools. Now, delving into our common sense a little bit, there are many different kinds of people in the world. Artists, scientists, religious leaders, lawyers. Each person starts as an innocent child, learning all they can about the world in any way they can think of. This condition and the medicines that the condition requires change the way our children think and allow them to be morphed into whatever society deems appropriate. Society, individually and as a whole, has no right to determine how an innocent mind thinks or change it in any way, shape, or form. As far as education goes, here in America, and in fact all around the world, education systems are becoming less and less built for abstract, creative, or overactive minds, all of which, in my opinion, are imperative to become a contributing member of society. In his TED Talk, Sir Ken Robinson, a very knowledgeable and popular educational speaker, is quoted as saying, "Our children are living in the most intensely stimulating period in the history of the earth, and we're penalizing them for getting distracted." He goes on by saying, "It seems to me not a coincidence totally that the incidence of ADHD has risen in parallel with the growth of standardized testing. These kids are being given often quite dangerous drugs to get them focused and calm them down." Beautifully said, I think. In my opinion, all ADHD medications and condition screenings should be banned to an age limit, along with the understanding of its frequent misdiagnosis. I want to be clear, in no way am I saying that ADHD does not exist. What I'm saying is that by its very nature, and the nature of its treatments, it's disastrous for our minds and the minds of our children. In the case of our children, it's become a scapegoat, and the first choice scapegoat, by the way, to combat something that was never a problem, childhood. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist, I'm saying it shouldn't.